Good afternoon, everybody. This is Alex coming from my office over here in Anahuac on 609 Miller Street, Anahuac, Texas. And just like I promised, we're here to answer some questions. I know I'm a little bit late, but it's always unpredictable as to when the phone's going to ring and who's going to walk in the door. So a little bit late, but we're here. I've got some questions I'm going to answer. If you're watching now, then you're more than welcome to type them now, and we'll try to answer them as we get them. And before we start, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Brazilian soccer team. They played Monday against Mexico in a round of 16, and you might say, well, why are you worried about the Brazilian soccer team? Well, I'm married to a Brazilian, okay? My secretary is a Brazilian, so everything shuts down when the soccer game is on, okay? So I got to pull for Brazil since the United States, unfortunately, didn't make it. But anyway, that's all right. We got the girls. They won the World Cup and the Olympics, so that's great. So anyway, hopefully guys do better next time. Anyway, I had a question here from Matthew Jenkins. And he asked me about Veterans Court. He specifically asked me about the Veterans Court in Fannin County, which I had to look up because I don't even know where Fannin County is, but I looked it up. It's way up in North Texas, bordering Oklahoma. But I'm way in South Texas, so I can't really tell him exactly what the Fannin County court system will do. But this question was, how does he get his criminal case seen in Veterans Court faster with no representation in Fannin County? Like I said, I can't say what Fannin County does because I don't practice up there. But I can tell you in this area, specifically in Jefferson County, where I go to a lot, and of course, Veterans Court's near and dear to my heart because I take care of my fellow brothers and when I get the opportunity to. So, and Veterans Court's a real good opportunity for a veteran who might be struggling from coming back from things that happened in war, and gives them an opportunity if they made a mistake back here in the real world. I didn't mean that, not real world, but back here in society, civilization, outside of the military. Gives them an opportunity to maybe get a criminal charge dismissed or taken away so that it's not on their record. Because, a lot of veterans suffer from PTSD and things of that nature, and things are different when you come back, okay? So maybe they made a mistake, and this court gives them an opportunity to keep that mistake off their record. So, like I said, Fannin, I don't know. I can't tell you about Fannin County, but here in Jefferson or in Jefferson County, what it does is we get an application for the veteran to fill out, and we submit it to the DA's office, and then the DA's office sends it to a veteran representative who interviews the veteran and tries to see if they qualify for Veterans Court. And, if you're suffering from some type of PTSD or issues that happen in the military, then you're probably going to qualify. And it also depends on the seriousness of the offense too. If we're talking about murder or something, then you're probably not going to qualify for that. But some of your other crimes that you might have made a mistake, they will interview you, approve you for this. And what happens is the Veterans Department sets you up with some services, some classes, some roundtable discussions, and they help you to get over some issues, try to get past what's bothering you, and once you get this help and you successfully complete the classes and all the requirements, and I can't tell you specifically because they're different in every case, but whatever classes they want you to go to, whatever type of roundtable discussions with other veterans, you have to go to all those and complete all those. Once you complete all those, then the DA will dismiss your case. So it's a great opportunity for veterans. Qualifications I'm sure are different in each county, but if you do qualify, if you're a veteran, if you're a combat veteran or suffering from some type of illness, mental illness, PTSD from what happened while you're in the service, then you can qualify for this Veterans Court with the possibility of getting the crime dismissed. So, Matthew, I can't tell you exactly about Fannin, but that's the way it works here, and I'm really glad the legislature and the surrounding counties have instituted this because, veterans, freedom's not free. So, and you see and do things that you might not do on a normal basis, and you struggle with coming back to deal with things in society. And so it does happen. So anyway, Matthew, I hope that answers your question. The next question came from Sylvia, and I know Sylvia. How you doing, Sylvia? He asked me, when someone accesses personal accounts and harasses them so badly as to drive them to suicide and are named as reasons for their suicide, can the harasser/stalker have a wrongful death suit filed against them? Or is that something that can be presented to the DA's office so that charges can be filed against them? That question that's a real tough question, okay? And just to let you know, things in the law, they're not black and white. They're always shades of gray. So this is one of the areas where it's a big shade of gray, okay? Now, yes, when you're talking about a civil suit, yes. It always depends on the facts. All cases depend on facts. And, sometimes you have a hard time getting that over to clients that, the attorneys don't make the facts. So, you might not think that you ought to be charged with something or be held responsible for your actions because of whatever reasons, but everything is based on the facts of the case. And even though you might think you might not need to be held accountable, the law probably or sometimes thinks otherwise. So, and I'm a little confused as to named as reasons for their suicide. I don't think that they put their name on the death certificate or anything. I don't think that's what you mean, Sylvia, but maybe it's just word of mouth that this person is the reason for the other person's suicide. But facts have to be really egregious against that person to try to go after them. Okay, civilly, there are a lot of factors. Did the defendant know or have reason to know that the deceased person was suicidal? That's a question, an important question. There are things we talk to people about every day, or we joke around, we play around, or whatever, and you might not think that that it's a big deal. And so if you don't know that the person's suicidal, then you've got no notice that that based on your actions, you cause somebody to commit suicide. How much time has passed between the defendant's actions and the inactions of the deceased person's suicide? How long did you say or do something to somebody and they committed suicide 30 days later? Well, that makes a difference than them committing it in 2 hours later. So, so there are a lot of factors that would go into it, but I'm going to tell you, it would have to be some real egregious actions by the person to make the law hold them liable for that person's death. And yeah, I see where you're saying the harasser was named in a suicide note. That's a factor. That's a big factor. But the facts and the proof to show that that person committed acts that would make the other person commit suicide, you're going to have proof of that. Now, and there's a difference. There's a difference between when you have a duty to some people and when you don't. Okay, so if you're in a position like a school counselor or possibly a psychologist or something, where when you actually have a duty, this person's mental state, and specifically like a counselor, you have a duty in a school to make sure kids are taken care of, make sure they're out of harm's way. And if you know that somebody's bullying this person or they're being exposed to a situation where they're suicidal, and you know that they possibly might be suicidal, then I think because of that duty, it's going to be a lot easier to show that school or that school counselor, that school district is more liable than say just somebody that they knew. But because you have to tie this together, there's such thing as causation. Did what the person do or commit to the other person, did that cause that person to commit suicide? And what they did, whatever act they did or whatever they did to the person, was it foreseeable by them committing this act that person would commit suicide because of it? So if I'm walking down the street and I pass somebody, I don't know them, and I say something derogatory, and they go and commit suicide, well, clearly I'm not liable because I had no idea they were suicidal, and I could not foresee what I said would cause them to commit suicide. Now, obviously, that relationship gets a little more constrained or easy to prove when the person knows the person. They might know their history, and they might know that what they say will cause them to do something like commit suicide. So, so I guess the answer to your question, civilly, yes, you can do it, but it takes a lot of proof, and the facts have to match what happened, and the causation of what they did, along with the foreseeability that they would do or commit suicide. They all have to be there. So it's really tough, but it can be done civilly. And also, in a civil court, the burden of proof is more likely than not. So 51% versus 49%. It's not like a criminal court where it's beyond a reasonable doubt. You got to have a lot of proof to take somebody's freedom away. In a civil court, it's just more likely than not. Did their actions more likely than not cause the death of this person? So, so it can be done. Yeah, it can be done, and it's not impossible, but it is. You would have to have some